Hello and welcome to a special Game Awards recap edition of Starside Chat. It's been a while since I've done that. Starside Chat. My name's Aaron. With me as always is Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Good, yeah. The Game Awards happened this last week, and there was some exciting stuff to talk about, so...
Pre the Game Awards, I guess we should talk about this. Wait, did we talk about the GTA trailer last week? It hadn't come out yet, right?
No, I don't think, it didn't come out yet.
So Rockstar tweeted, like, hey, guess what? We're going to do the trailer on Tuesday, I want to say. But then I guess it leaked on Twitter on Monday night. You texted me and you were like, hey, take a look at this. And I was like, whoa. And it was just the full GTA 6 trailer came out on Monday night.
Yeah. At first, so I just randomly opened YouTube, and like the first thing there was like a GTA trailer from the GameSpot channel. And I was like, wait, what? So I clicked on it, and it was just the full trailer. And I was like, did they leak this on accident? Because it had like the video had literally just like just gone up like minutes before. And I was like, was this an accident of some sort? And so then I went to Twitter, and everybody was like, how about that GTA trailer? And Jason Schreier was like, this leaked accidentally, or not accidentally. Somebody leaked it, like a low res version of it. And so Rockstar just like released the full trailer. And so everybody was uploading it. And it was like a mad dash to watch it.
I've linked in our show notes to IGN put out a nice little like 99 details they spotted in the trailer as like a little analysis, which a lot, I mean, you're not going to get like Game Explain type of stuff where they do like a 4-hour analysis on a Zelda trailer that's like 30 seconds long. But they did point out some interesting things, including, I think we talked about this earlier this week, they noticed that the main, not antagonist, the main protagonist, whose name is, what is her name? Lucia?
I don't know.
I don't remember. They say it once in the trailer. But she has an ankle bracelet on, like a LoJack type of a one that we would put on if you're like under house arrest. And people have speculated that that's how they're going to gate some parts of the map initially. Because in every GTA game, usually there's like an initial island or area that you only have access to, and then the map slowly opens up. But that's obviously more difficult when you can't have like you can swim now, which is a whole thing, and there's boats and there's planes. So how do you gate a player's progress in like a in-universe way? And I think that's a really smart, interesting way of doing it, is having your ankle. What do they call those? Your ankle, not an ankle bracelet.
They're just ankle bracelets.
Is it just
I
ankle
think
bracelet?
that's what they call them. Well, I mean, maybe that's how we refer to them. There's probably like a technical term for them. But
there's a bunch of cool little detail. I mean, what did you pick out from this trailer that you thought was interesting?
I mean, I saw, we talked about it off podcast. There was like a little GIF going around showing the different like real life things that were like in this trailer. There was like scenes based on basically in the trailer from like different like news items that were coming out of Florida or whatever, that was kind of funny to see. So I wonder how you'll like happen upon those in game. But
yeah, some sort of like Red Dead Redemption. I mean, I assume it's going to be similar to when you would just like come upon a crazy thing in Red Dead Redemption, but I don't know. Social media is a big part of it too. There's a lot of like live streaming happening in the trailer, so maybe it'll be, that's how you discover stuff, is like you'll see like whatever their TikTok equivalent is of stuff going on, and you'll go track that down. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure they will have like some sort of parody on like social media stuff and influencers, because I feel like they've had that in the past as well. They always sort of take shots at different like popular things going on in the world and sort of meme them a little bit in game. But like they did that, like the sun in GTA 5 was kind of like a funny take on like mocking gamer culture. But
I was struck by, the thing I was most struck by in this trailer was just like the density of NPCs everywhere. And who knows if this is just in the trailer or not, but like there are shots where there's like parties going on in the street or like in a beach environment. They're just like running down a beach, and there's just like so many people, and all of them are doing so many different things. Like in that IGN video, they kind of slowed it down. There's a shot where like two people are running towards the camera on a beach, and they point out like, look at all these different like it's not the same model. There's different body types, like sizes and heights of people, and they're all doing different things. These are all custom animations. Like it's all just like it's such a dense, it's crazy to comprehend, and maybe it won't be that in the real. But I saw some like videos of analysis of like, here was the beach in Vice City back in the day versus now, and it's just like, it looks like a barren like one polygon basically is the beach. But just to walk
in
around.
In a lot of games, you'll like walk down the street and you'll see like the same character model like 4 different times.
Yes, that was a problem in Cyberpunk, because you would see like the same guy kind of like lumbering around in the background. Whereas this, it seems like maybe they've figured out a way to diversify so it doesn't look like copy pasting all the time.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Which is interesting, and yeah, like you said, who knows whether this will be like the real game, whether this is like made for the trailer. Like I feel like you always see stuff in trailers, and then people will like, once a game comes out, they'll like do a side by side. This is what they promised in the trailer, and this is what is actually in game. And I'm sure we'll get that to some degree, but it looks densely packed for sure.
Another densely packed thing is when they showed the insides of stores. Like, this was another side-by-side I saw of, like, even GTA 5. When you would go into a store, it would look pretty, like, stuff behind coolers and stuff would be, like, you know, there's a couple of glasses, bottles of beer or whatever. But when they're in that convenience store, it seems like all of the like, stocked shelves are, like, fully stocked and have, like, individual things. And I wonder if those things have physics. Like, can you just go into a store and bang around and like knock a bunch of stuff over, or are they static? I would be so interested to know like how detailed those interiors actually are, because they look super detailed.
Yeah, that was one of the cool things about Starfield, where like every room you went into, like they weren't just like textures on like a shelf somewhere. Like each thing was like an individual item, and so instead of like, you know, opening a locker like you would in Fallout and you just have a list of items and you pick something, is like literally items in the locker that you would look at and grab. And those, obviously the environments were not as large as what GTA 6 is likely to be. So I'm curious how, or if they're able to pull that off in like a giant open world, to also have just like such minuscule little items everywhere.
Very interesting stuff. So Keighley didn't get this for the Game Awards, and I think this probably would have been the main thing we were talking about if it had premiered at the Game Awards, but we got a little treat earlier in the week of this. Who knows when we're going to see the next... So the other big thing about this is they revealed it's not coming out in 2024. At the end of the trailer, it said 2025, and nope, they're not like Q1 2025 or like summer 2025, just 2025. So who knows if it's going to slip or when it's going to be during that time period. But I mean, it's so far away. Who knows when we're going to see the next trailer for it or any more details about it.
Yeah, I suspect maybe Summer Games Fest next year we'll maybe see some actual gameplay, because like this is, you know, clearly in engine, but it's also like you curated this for a trailer, obviously. So like, what does it actually look like to play the game? And like, obviously we had that leak a long time ago, but I would imagine it would look different now than from that leak.
Yeah, but, that was very early on, because supposedly this has been in development since like 2014 or 2015, and that leak I think was from 2017, I want to say, or 20.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was from a while ago.
So yeah, I would imagine it would look different than that. But I'm very curious to see, because like Rockstar games do get flack for having sort of clunky controls a little bit. You have to tap a button to run, and like just like the shooting mechanics don't feel as like smooth or polished as something you get in like, say, a Call of Duty, for instance. But they have a lot of other things going on, obviously, and so that maybe that's why
they put realism, I think, before, because like it doesn't feel as tight, but that's because a real person would need to either like, you know, speed up to a run and then slow down as they're stopping running, you know, so that's built into the animation. You can't just like zip around, but that does end up feeling a little sluggish because you're kind of like stuck in the mud of the real world, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, and so their games look really realistic and really good. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 looked amazing. Yeah. But like as a shooter, it was one of those things where I was like, I don't think I would play much of the online because I don't really love the shooting in this game. Or like, you know, moving your little dot around the screen to aim at enemies and before you start taking shots. So I don't particularly love that aspect of Rockstar games, but like the world and the story and everything else going on is so great that you just kind of put up with it. And so I wonder if they'll have made any improvements to that.
I don't know. I wonder if they would have heard if the criticism of the shooting mechanics was loud enough for Red Dead Redemption, because I feel like everyone I mean, it was heavily lauded. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 was a lot of people's game of the year that year. But people did complain about how sluggish it felt and how the shooting was just like kind of set in the past a little bit. It didn't feel as snappy as modern shooters. And so I wonder if they heard enough of that and they were like, this is something we need to improve on. I feel like Bethesda kind of did that with Starfield, where, you know, people said the shooting in Fallout wasn't that great. And I feel like they did make some improvements in Starfield. It felt good to shoot weapons in that.
Yeah. I was going to say that game did feel much better to play just solely as a shooter from that aspect of it versus like the previous Fallout games. But
so I don't know. Other bits of housekeeping before we get to the Game Awards.
The only thing I really have in here is there was a new story mode update coming to Vampire Survivors.
I saw this, yeah.
Now, supposedly, this is not coming out to the Switch version yet, but so I think it may be a little bit delayed on Switch, but it's coming to the other versions of the game. I'm looking for a date, December 6th, so this is already out. And I don't know about you, but I have recently gotten back into Vampire Survivors, so when I saw this, I was like, ooh, like new content.
Check this out.
I'm ready for this. Yeah, so I haven't played this yet. I also don't know, does this say whether it is free or if this is like a thing you have to purchase? Because like they've had other DLCs that you did have to buy, but there are stories that are supposed to focus on the different members of the survivors troupe. So basically, supposedly there will be little stories for each of the characters, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I really like Vampire Survivors, and I've played a bunch of it since like Thanksgiving. That break was sort of my Thanksgiving game was Vampire Survivors. So I would definitely check this out. And then the only other thing was there was an interview that Game Informer had done with Aonuma about Zelda. And in that interview, he more or less confirmed that the next Zelda is going to be something different than like the Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom series of games. They're going to make something completely different. And so I don't know if you consider that a good or bad thing. But,
I think good. I mean, because I think they've only ever done. Has there ever been a trilogy of Zelda games? I don't know. Maybe on the GBA, but they had Ocarina of Time. Obviously, was followed pretty closely by Majora's Mask, and this is another situation where we had just like a real banger of a game, one of the best games ever made, followed up by a game built in the same engine that kind of iterated on it on very interesting ways. And so I don't know if there is much left to tell with Breath of the Wild, or, you know, that iteration of Hyrule, especially now that we've been to it twice. So I have no idea what the next Legend of Zelda could be. I could not tell you, which is exciting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like if they came out with another game that was set in the same open world as the previous two games, like one, what else would they add on
Yeah.
to it that would make it interesting to explore for a third time? But like they took a little bit of flack from some people, like, oh, it's just the same map or whatever. And granted, some of that was just like Baldur's Gate 3 people that were like desperate to not have Zelda be the game of the year. But like also, in fairness, like the base map is, you know, something we've already been to before, and they just added on like an underground zone and like the Sky Islands. Now I was fine with that, but like a third time, I feel like people would not be happy about it.
Law of diminishing returns, almost. It's like, how much can you... I mean, they would have to really flip the script in some kind of crazy way for us to re-explore all this stuff a third time.
Also, like, I couldn't have predicted the new powers that they added to Tears of the Kingdom from Breath of the Wild, but like, what else do you do in that regard to switch it up? So I feel like they'll definitely take it back to the drawing board and come up with something that we also cannot have predicted. So,
well, speaking of things we couldn't predict, Zach, it's time to talk about the 2023 Game Awards.
Yeah, I don't know how detailed you want to go into this, because I have sort of listed out most, not necessarily everything that they showed in terms of trailer. Or do you want to do like high level thoughts first before we kind of break it down?
Let's do some high level stuff. What was your, I guess, bite of the night? What was your favorite thing that happened?
My favorite thing that happened? Ooh. I did enjoy the Alan Wake 2 song and dance.
That was crazy.
I have not played Alan Wake 2 and probably won't, but I thought it was cool that like even Sam Lake, the creative director of Remedy, like joined them on stage towards the end of it and was like just taking part in the song and dance.
It made me want to play
it. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I've heard the music is great. Like MinMax did an episode over the last like week or two where they talked about the best music in games. And they played some song from Alan Wake 2 and we're just talking about how great it was. And it did a little bit make me want to play it, but also like I haven't played the first one or anything else, and so I kind of don't. Yeah. Like also it's not usually my type of game, so I just don't know. But it seems cool, and I did enjoy just how crazy it was that they brought everybody out for like a song and dance.
I love that.
And supposedly, isn't that like in game? So they just did like the on stage version of what is already in the game.
Yeah, Remedy will usually do, at least in Control. They love to, and they probably did this in Alan Wake 1 as well. But they love to have live action stuff every once in a while in their games. And so in Control, did you play Control?
I did not.
In Control, every once in a while, one of the subplots was you were learning about things from the past from this Dr. Darling, who you would see in projectors, who would be projected onto walls as like a live action dude. And so every once in a while you would get to a place and you could play one of these projections and he would just talk to you about like some interesting lore or like something that happened, like them researching stuff, because he was like the lead scientist of oh man, what were they called in the Institute? I don't remember what they were called. But anyway, at the end of the game, or very close to the end, you got to a part where you got to see a whole projected music video where he's just like freaking out. He's like in his underwear dancing to this crazy song, and it's pretty funny. And it's I think something similar happens in Alan Wake, where there's just an elongated live-action music video you can take part in and watch. So that's like a Remedy trademark, I guess. But that made me kind of want to check it out, just because I love Control so much. I love the world of Control, and this is technically the same world. And so I would be watching it, playing it for like little tidbits of like what's going on with everybody over at the oldest house or whatever. But I don't know if I will check it out, because again, I think if it comes on Game Pass, I probably will try to give it a go. But it's I thought that was a definite highlight of the show. I thought that was great.
Yeah, and they had some celebrity guests come out, and I don't know if you muted during these segments.
I did.
I figured you would. I don't know. This was one of the criticisms that's been going around about the Game Awards, is that they spent an awful lot of time with, like, they would have some, like, Hollywood actor come out and just, like, tell not very funny jokes for, like, 3 minutes or something like that. And then you had, like we'll get into, like, what they were announcing, but, like, Hideo Kojima came out for, like, 10-15 minutes, and they just, like, fawned over him and his new game. And really, that entire segment where they had, like, Jordan Peele and Hideo Kojima on stage, and they were just, like, talking about how much they love each other, it was like, you could have cut that down in half or, like, even less than that. And it is a Game Awards show, so you expect them to spend some time on awards. And, like, so the big criticism was, you spent an awful lot of time on that, and we learned nothing about Kojima's new game.
We learned that Udo Kier is in it for some reason.
And yet, every time, like, Aonuma went up to accept an award for Zelda, or, like, the Larian people went up to accept, an award and talk about how they were dedicating it to one of their team members that died, you're playing them off with music, and you have a little cue card up there that's like, wrap it up, please. You know, like, you could have given them more time. And also, like, the small indie developer who won best indie game of the year or best debut indie, they didn't even get to go on stage and be acknowledged for winning the award. They didn't get to hold the award and have their little moment to, like, thank everybody on stage, because they were just, like, in that segment where Keighley was just, like, rattling off, like, 5-10 awards in a row with no fanfare whatsoever.
This year, more than other years, I felt like we had more segments where we get like, a trailer ends, cut to Jeff Keighley, and he's like, well, here's 5 awards rapid fire. Whereas, like, in the past, I feel like some of those were relegated, like, they were more self-aware. Like, the awards they would do would be like best sports game, best racing game, stuff people don't really care about. But now it's like serious stuff, like best indie game, where you want people to come up.
Yeah, exactly. When you want to, like, actually, this is mainly for, like, developers of the industry to, like, recognize them, and, like, it is an award show, and yet, like, somebody on Twitter, like, did a breakdown. I forget what it was, but it was a small percentage of the show was actually dedicated to the awards themselves, and the rest of it was, like, ads and trailers for new stuff, or just, like, random celebrities coming out to just, like, talk for a few minutes. And so people were criticizing Keighley a little bit about that, because sometimes it just feels like he's trying to make connections with, like, big name Hollywood people, and so he puts a little bit more emphasis on just, like, bringing in big name people to be a part of it, to, like, sort of add some sort of legitimacy to it. And people, like, gamers don't really care that much about that. Like, that's cool for him personally, but, like, gamers have their own celebrities, right? Like, people within the industry are their celebrities that they want to see and hear from. And instead of, like, hearing from Aonuma for, like, 5-10 seconds longer, we're, like, cutting him off at 20 seconds, and so that we can hear Matthew McConaughey premiere a game that we don't even see him or hear him in the trailer.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but I could not have predicted Matthew McConaughey was going to come out. And then it was a weird vibe from him, because he basically rattled off a couple of his, like, iconic quotes for some reason. Yeah. And then he was like,
it was weird.
I was in Inception, which has to do with time dilation. So, like, this game is also about time dilation, so that's why I'm in it. And then we got to see a trailer, which admittedly looks interesting, but neither of us could hear his voice in it. So I don't know if his character is not revealed in that, but I would have thought that you would want to reveal your star in your premiere trailer. Right. But
yeah, they almost did the opposite of what Cyberpunk did. So when Cyberpunk announced that Keanu Reeves was in Cyberpunk, they had like the trailer, and then at the very end, you see his face pop up on screen, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's Keanu Reeves in this game. That's so cool. And then he like walks out on the stage, and it was a super cool moment. This was the reverse of that, where you had the actor first come out on stage and say, hey, I'm in this game. And then they played a trailer, but you don't see or hear him at all. So if you just saw the trailer without that segment with McConaughey saying he was in it, you wouldn't even know he was in the game. I don't know about you. It also looked like maybe this is just like a thing that we're getting into with some graphics where they start to look like those generic games that are in the background of like movies. But this game kind of looked like that to me. It was called Exodus. And suppose I don't know what role McConaughey plays, but he's not the main character. But the interesting thing about the game for me was that it is supposedly, I don't know if it's fully written by or if he's just working on it, but that Drew Karpyshyn guy, I don't know how to say his name. He's the guy that wrote Knights of the Old Republic and like Baldur's Gate 2 and the first 2 Mass Effect games. And so he's like worked on some big games that are like very beloved. And he's like written some books as well. But he shared on Twitter that he's actually working on the game. So that's pretty cool. It does pique my interest level with that game a little bit more so than after having seen the trailer. I wasn't like sure what to think of that game, but it does make me a little bit more interested to know that he's involved. So even though I have to make fun of the segment in the Game Awards because McConaughey was not in the trailer as far as I can tell, but
so I put down, we can go like line by line, but I put down 5 things that stood out to me as being super cool. Probably my favorite thing of the night was when they talked about Final Fantasy VII, because what is the new one called? Rebirth?
Yeah, Rebirth.
So Keighley came on, he was like, here's a musical segment, but it's a musical segment for a song no one has heard before because it's the main theme for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. They started playing it, and then also they started having footage that we have never seen in the background, which was crazy to me. So, like, they showed a ton of Golden Saucer stuff. They showed Under the Golden Saucer. They showed, like, they revealed Cid, who is the last character, because we already saw what Vincent looks like. So Cid's the last person that would join your party. So we saw him, which is crazy. We saw a ton of stuff, and then cut back to Keighley, and he was like, wasn't that great? Also, here's this. And it was more Final Fantasy VII stuff, like slowly coming in from the clouds, going into like a Buster Sword, and you started to hear like an Irish or Scottish.
It had a different animation style too. You could tell this was not like the Final Fantasy VII engine.
It had, so someone with like an Irish accent started talking. I was like, man, who in Final Fantasy VII has an Irish accent? And then I realized it was Apex. It was Horizon from Apex. And her and somebody else and Crypto were just like hanging out looking at a Buster Sword, and then Crypto like picks it up and like, you know, slashes it a couple of times, and they revealed there's going to be a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Apex crossover, which I was not expecting and was very exciting.
Yeah, I was also really excited about this. I was like, oh, wait, that's Apex Legends.
Yeah.
I'm playing a lot of that recently. That's very cool.
And you brought up a good point. I don't know what to
expect from the event, but
you brought up a good point that it's crazy that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth didn't partner with like Fortnite or some other battle royale. It for some reason it's Apex.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if your main competitor is Fortnite and you're just, like, sitting there watching them get all these crazy, like, tie-ins with, like, Spider-Man and all these different things, and you're like, man, we, by comparison, do not have what's going on in Fortnite, but we're, like, you know, a free-to-play battle royale, like, that's our competitor. They just announced this big like Lego tie-in, and there's like a racing tie-in. They've got all kinds of things going on in Fortnite these days. They countered with like something very cool that's going to be a big deal when it launches next year. So
it seems
I thought
like
that was a big get for them.
Huge get. And suppose like I don't know what this is going to be, if it's going to be just a specific game mode where something happens, or if like in regular trios, you'll just like see a Buster Sword somewhere and you can like pick it up and do stuff with it. But we were also talking offline about how maybe there's going to be Final Fantasy VII skins, which would be crazy. Like,
yeah,
I don't know who would be the best person to have like a Cloud skin where you have like Cloud hair or whatever. But people said that Newcastle would be great for Barret.
Yeah.
And that Conduit would be a good Yuffie, I guess is how you say that. But that would be great.
I was gonna say somebody could be a Tifa for sure.
Somebody could be a Tifa. Somebody could be, I think, I don't know that you could do Red 13, but
yeah, unfortunately,
it's very cool, and I would never have predicted, because I knew that Respawn said they were going to be at the Game Awards, but I didn't know what people wanted them to announce. Titanfall 3, obviously, everyone always wants Titanfall 3, but yeah, what a crazy collaboration, and also just a crazy amount of footage of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which looks like it's coming along great. I am very excited to... I don't have a PS5, but I think I'm going to try to play that in some way.
I have pre-ordered, I believe, not the collector's edition, but like they always have some sort of deluxe edition that's like an in-between.
Yeah.
Like the base version and the really expensive collector's edition version. I think I pre-ordered that middle ground one that I'm pretty excited to get, because it always comes with like a steel book and some stuff like that. But I'm very hyped for that game, and also like basically the only thing I've been playing over the last couple of weeks has been Apex Legends. Yeah. So the fact that they are adding, some DLC for that game is really cool to me.
Now, I have talked a lot. Every time there's an award show or a Summer Games Fest or an E3, I always talk about my perfect formula for a perfect show. And the thing I always say it needs to start with is something that you don't know what it is, and then you rack focus and you figure out what it is, and it's like a big thing. Famously, like there was the God of War trailer in that one E3 where you weren't really sure what it was, and then Kratos walked out from the shadows and it was crazy. Or another example of this is when Microsoft started that one press conference where it was just like fields and like wildlife, people walking around, rack focus to Master Chief's helmet, and then he puts it on. You realize this is Halo Infinite or whatever. I would have started this show, if I was making my perfect show, I would have started it with the Blade trailer, because I don't think anybody was predicting this, and I wasn't sure what it was. And then you figured out it was Blade, and it was a huge pop. Because Arcane, the French Arcane studio in like Lyon, is making a Blade game that is third person. What did you? I got very excited about this. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I thought it was cool too. Like I'm not big on superhero games, but I mean, I think Arcane is like such a cool studio that I probably will check it out when it comes out, just because it's them. And yeah, I know it wasn't the Arcane Lyon, but the previous Arcane game was also like a vampire game that did very poorly. This will not be that, I would imagine. But yeah, it was cool that they were like, this is a third-person immersive sim game. We're going kind of back to our bread and butter, but we have this cool like Marvel property to work with. So I thought it was cool.
The most interesting thing about it is that it is third person and that it's a Blade game, because Blade famously is like pretty aggressive, like swords, guns, things like that, crazy gadgets that like shoot sunlight or whatever. But they're known for like Dishonored and Deathloop and stuff like that, where stealth, it's like
just more stealthy.
Yeah, like you're crouched around, you're like teleporting on top of roofs and like kind of figuring out how to get into a door. Dishonored is one of my favorite games, because it's like very much an iteration on Thief from back in the day, which Thief: The Metal Age is maybe one in my top 5 games. But this is, I would assume, it's gonna veer more towards Redfall, which was, I think, more action based. So I don't know, maybe there will be a story reason why you would have to be more stealth, But it's set in Paris, which is interesting. And it seems like there's going to be a day-night cycle. There's like a countdown in the trailer where like it's like counting down to sunset, and everybody in Paris has to like go into lockdown at sunset, probably because of vampires, I would assume. But I also don't know how Marvel this is going to be, because famously they have that Mahershala Ali Blade movie that...
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
It's been in development hell for years, and they are, I think, completely remaking it. Apparently there was a cut where like there were only like 2 fight scenes, and everyone said it was awful. And they're like completely scrapping that. They may even have a new director or a new writer, and they're totally doing it again. I think production's restarting in February or something like that. But
they've been on a downslide for a while, so yeah, they need to get this right.
It's also crazy because there's a great meme that I always see when they talk about Blade actually being in the Marvel universe, where it's like Captain America being like, how's everybody doing? What's on the docket? And then Blade is like, hey, vampires exist, and there's like a lot of them. Is anybody going to help me kill all these vampires? They've been around forever. And nobody else says anything. That's something I'm really interested about with the Blade movie. It's like how they're going to explain like, hey, FYI, vampires have always existed, and it's like a big issue.
Yeah.
But I really don't know if any other Marvel people would come in. Like, I don't think we're going to see Spider-Man in this game, or like I think it's just going to be a Blade game. But I mean, who knows, I guess. But I don't think Wolverine's going to pop up. But if he did, I guess that would be cool. I don't really care about that. I don't think I need a collaboration with this. I don't think I even need this to exist within any sort of Marvel universe. Like, if it's just them having the property, I think that's fine with me.
I feel like without it being tied in any way to like Sony, it probably will feel a little bit like one of those Sony Spider-Man movies rather than like one of the Marvel Spider-Man movies, you know, where you can tell it's like a separate thing, but
it's just building up to a larger story where they can't even tell their own story because they need to seed in all these things for the Infinity Saga or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have high hopes for this. I really like Arcane. I think they make really interesting. I never played Deathloop, but it's on my wish list, and I guess it's on Game Pass, so I could check it out.
I did play it, and I didn't love it. I thought there were like very cool aspects to it, but I was not super into it, to be honest. I also, the only other Arcane game I played is a little bit of Redfall, which was bad, but that's obviously a different studio within Arcane, so
what else?
Not a good comparison point, but
what else do you want to talk about? I have 3 other things I want to talk about. We can talk about those, or we can start going down the list.
I did think it was funny, just more like picking out different points. Like some of the people they got to come in, like what's his name? Voice of Kratos came out.
Oh, Christopher Judge. Teal'c.
Christopher Judge. Yeah. Love Christopher Judge. He came out and he joked about how his speech last year was longer than this year's Call of Duty campaign. And there was like a big thing about people not taking like 10 minutes to accept an award or whatever. But then he showed that there was like a different trailer. And then after that, as sort of like a tie-in, as almost a one more thing, they were like, oh yeah, Kratos is like, there's new content for God of War Ragnarok. So they had this Valhalla DLC.
Free DLC.
That is for free. That is coming out as we're recording this next week on Tuesday. So this podcast will probably go up on Monday. So the very next day it'll be out and it'll be free. And it is a roguelike type of thing. It looked very cool. I don't know. I haven't revisited Ragnarok since I initially finished it. So it might be cool to jump back in and try this out, especially since it's free.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I thought this was like a really cool little thing.
It was cool.
Like nobody, there was no DLC for the first game, famously.
Yeah. So I think they immediately started working on the next one.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I thought this was a cool thing that almost could have been that like intro thing that you always talk about. where they're like, they show a little bit of the environment, and you're like, okay, I don't know what this is. What is this?
And then he comes into frame.
And all of a sudden, Kratos like sits up in frame or whatever.
That's such a good way to introduce a trailer, is to just like leave people kind of off balance. Like, what am I looking at? What am I looking at? And then just an iconic character comes onto screen, and you're just like, oh my God. That's like such, I love that way of making a trailer.
Yeah, that was the thing that stuck out to me. I was like, oh, they could have used this as like their intro, what is it type of thing. But I thought that was cool. There was also, I think before, maybe this was part of the pre-show, they had a game called Big Walk that was from the follow-up to Untitled Goose Game from that developer. And it looks like some sort of like multiplayer thing where you're in these like realistic environments, but you're playing, how would you even describe the type of characters that you're playing?
This blew up on Twitter because, at least on my Twitter, because it gave me and a lot of other people like a mini heart attack when they were announcing it, because the way Keighley announced it was like, and now we've got something very special. It's from a small team in Australia. It's a follow-up to a really great game. All of those things point to Silksong, because Team Cherry is a small team in Australia, and they've pretty much only put out one game. And so everyone on Twitter was like, oh my God. And then it was an Untitled Goose Game sequel type of thing. But yeah, it's weird. You're like little orbs stacked on top of each other who like kind of just like inflate around. Like you almost have like beaks that get bigger when you talk.
Yeah. You almost do look like a goose, just like with a really strange art style.
Yeah, very abstract.
But yeah, but that's like the sort of cartoony character that you play, but you're in these realistic environments, and it seems to be multiplayer.
Yeah.
It's unclear what you're actually doing in the game, but supposedly this is coming out in 2025, so we probably will maybe see more from it at Summer Games Fest next year, but hard to say. So that stood out to me. They did have, I don't know how to say her name, Akumi Nakamura, I think is her name, who came out to talk about, I think her next game is Kamuri. And she like did this, she's like very bubbly on stage, and that's why everybody likes her. But it seems like it's some sort of game where you like maybe will have like some sort of viewfinder to see like stuff that's
you like look through your fingers. Really, it looks like that's what she like, she did it on stage, and then the people in the animation also did it. Which, by the way, that was 100% just an animation. I don't think any of that was in engine or anything like that. But
yeah, that's what it looked like to me as well.
You sort of do a thing like where filmmakers are like trying to picture a frame in their head where like your forefinger and thumb make a square
out of your,
and then you look through that, and then there's like demons or something.
Yeah, which is a very like Japan type of a thing. It's kind of that what is that, Bleach TV show where it's like you can't see the hollows or anything that's going on until you like are, I don't know, somehow awakened to be able to see it. But so that game could be interesting. I like her as a developer. I liked Ghostwire Tokyo, so we'll see. I guess we can just start going through it instead of just like hitting them randomly. But
Brothers, there's a HD remake of Brothers. I never played the original because it seemed too sad for me, but that's happening. Inscription is a game I always wanted to check out, but I never did. I watched someone play through the first part of it, and then I like skipped ahead in the video 2 hours, and it seemed like a completely different game.
Yeah.
But that guy is making a new game called Pony Island 2 Panda Circus, and this trailer seems insane in a way that I think I actually do want to check out.
Yeah, it looked crazy where it's not even clear to me what you're doing, or like, because every single scene that they showed seemed to be a completely different game, but it's all one game.
It's parts of it are, first person, you're walking around a crazy environment, and then you get to like an arcade cabinet, and then it's like crazy little 8-bit games. And there's some live action stuff with that Sung-won guy who is like a voice actor and in a bunch of stuff. He was in that BlackBerry movie. But this looks crazy and like very cool. And something I think I probably will check out, even though I never checked out Inscription. I think the thing that turned me off of Inscription is that it was card based, and I don't super like card games. But this seems to have no cards, so this is something I am much more likely to check out.
Was there a first Pony Island?
No, I don't think so.
Or is this like
this is a Goat Simulator 3 type
Spaceballs.
situation.
Yeah, Spaceballs episode 13.
Yeah, exactly. Or Leonard Part 6.
Yeah.
Rise of the Golden Idol. I know a lot of people like the Case of the Golden Idol, so people are excited about this. Usual June is, what was this one? Oh, this is like a third-person brawler kind of a thing. I like the art style of this. It kind of looks like Into the Spider-Verse, because it's like the characters are low frame rate almost, and they have like the same stylings as the animation from at least the main universe in Into the Spider-Verse, which I think is cool. It seems interesting. Stop me if there's something that you want to talk more about. The Odd Gentleman Harmonium is like a cool, accessible game about a deaf girl that goes into a crazy universe. Dead Cells developer is revealing Windblown, which seems to be... I couldn't tell if this was multiplayer or not. But it's kind of like an isometric... I think it is multiplayer, actually. Kind of a thing where you and two other people are fighting. I would assume this is some sort of roguelike type of thing. But I like the animation style of that.
I like that developer because I like Dead Cells quite a bit, so it'll be interesting to see it based on that. Another one I had was Dave the Diver had like a crossover with Dredge.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like, so they were showing Dave the Diver, and I was like, okay, why are we seeing this game? It's already out. And then like the shopkeeper from Dredge was there, and I was like, man, they totally ripped off the shopkeeper from Dredge for this game. And then I was like, no, that is actually the shopkeeper from Dredge. This is a crossover. And I was like, oh, that's suddenly way more interesting to me. I haven't played Dave the Diver yet, but I kind of want to.
People seem to say it's great. They say they really nailed the like addictive formula of it.
Yeah, and Dredge I thought was great too. So like having that as a crossover is a pretty cool thing. So I'm very curious to see what that is.
I'm going to skip over some stuff we probably...
Well, I was going to throw out World of Goo 2.
Yeah, that's what I was going to skip over.
Oh, you were going to skip over?
Do you like World of Goo?
I played a little bit of the first one. I think this is like low-key sort of a big one for some people.
Really?
Just because it's been like 15 years since that first game came out.
Isn't this just isn't it a phone game?
No, I think this was on console.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else, actually.
I think it was on phone. Maybe even originally on phone. I'm not sure. But it was like really well liked.
Really?
Even if it was just like a phone game. I think this was like a game that was like a big surprise because I watched like some reaction to this trailer and somebody was like freaking out about it because they're like, oh my gosh, it's been 15 years.
Whoa.
I'm so excited.
I had
about
no idea.
this. So yeah, it's coming out next year. And then another one you might skip over that I think is cool is that Metaphor Re Fantasio.
I was planning on skipping over this.
Because this is from the developers of Persona, and I like Persona 5 quite a lot, and I've played like some of the spin-offs of that game. And so that developer and their like crazy art style, and to have it be, it seems like, I can't tell if this is turn-based as well or if it's not turn-based. But if they can make a game that didn't have like the Personas, because obviously Persona is like a spinoff of Shin Megami Tensei, and both of those games are turn-based, and they use like basically the Personas as like doing their attacks, and so it gets kind of convoluted to me when you're like leveling them up and you can like combine them and you like change them in different ways, and all of that like kind of is a little bit much for me. So if they could scale that down and make it a little more approachable, which I think is maybe what this is going to be, I think that's very cool. So I would probably check that game out when it comes out. Okay, you can skip to the next thing you were going to talk about.
We already talked about Exodus, which is that weird Matthew McConaughey project. We talked about God of War, the free DLC. We talked about The Big Walk, which again, I think I am interested in this. I am excited to see what it actually looks like to play this game because I loved Untitled Goose Game. Let's see. What else caught my eye? Oh,
the next one for me
is it the Ori thing?
Yeah, I was going to say No Rest for the Wicked is from Moon Studios, the creators of the Ori series. But this is like an action RPG that's I want to say kind of Diablo-like, where it's sort of isometric, but it has like a really cool art style that I liked, and I just like that developer because Ori and the Will of the Wisps is like one of the best Metroidvanias that I've played. And so I'm very curious to see what they do with this.
It's got a very interesting art style that is really clicking for me.
Yeah, I definitely want to check this out when it comes out. I don't think they had any sort of like window for it coming out. This was just sort of a brief announcement trailer, but it looked cool to me.
What did you think of this Rise of the Ronin?
I mean, every time they play a trailer for this, everybody's like, Ghost of Tsushima 2? No. This is a different game that correct me if I'm wrong, is this also a PlayStation exclusive?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe it's not. I don't know. It's coming. They announced the release date for this because we had seen trailers for this already, and I think this was new news that the release date is March 22nd, 2024. But that's a cool game that will probably be among my most anticipated games for next year if we ever get around to doing a list of anticipated games for next year. But I thought that was cool. And then, like, a minor note, I don't know if I would play this, but I thought it was kind of cool that they're bringing back the Mana series with a game called Visions of Mana. I played the remake of... There was one of the remakes. I can't remember which one it was. But I thought that was a fun game. And obviously, it's a series that's been going on since back in, like, maybe even the NES days? Super NES? So it's been around a long time. And it's like a beloved franchise. So the fact that they're bringing it back with like an all-new game for modern consoles is kind of a cool thing. But do you want to talk about Hideo Kojima's upcoming game?
Let's do it. I think the coolest thing they did was when Hideo Kojima came out, it was a direct reference to that Silent Hills game that never came out, that PT, because PT was a loop, and you would go through the same hallway over and over again, and it always started with that door opening, and it had that same door. It even did the same door opening animation, kind of, where it like slowly opens. You get the same sound effect even. And so he came out, but OD...
Well, so what they show you is it's like a person on screen. It's just their face, basically, and there's like a black... empty void room behind them, basically, but it's like very well lit on the person's face, and they seem to be like maybe even projecting something on their eyeballs, and so there's like something reflecting, and so towards the end of that, just before the door opens and Kojima walks out, is you see, if you look closely, you can see like a door that's lit basically the same way in the reflection of her eyeballs, and then like so the door opens and someone walks in. And she like screams in terror, basically, and then cut to like an actual door there on stage that like swings open, and Kojima in shadow is standing there, and then he walks out. So it was kind of a cool little transition, but I don't know.
I don't know what this could be. Supposedly it's something new, according to Jordan Peele and Hideo Kojima, but
yeah. Well, I mean, they say that about everything he makes. Like, it's like nothing you've ever seen or played before. And like, I watched some of the MinMax stream where they were talking over the Game Awards, and they were like, why doesn't Kojima just make movies? Like, clearly, like, they even reference when they brought Jordan Peele out to reveal that he's somehow involved in the game, and Kojima said that he grew up watching movies and ended up making games for a living, and Jordan Peele grew up playing games and somehow ended up making movies for a living, and so they liked working together because they sort of had like, I don't know, something like that that sort of made them jive with each other. But clearly Kojima should just be making movies.
I
think is maybe
I
the
wonder
takeaway.
like how much of this is actually like what the game is going to look like. I saw someone on Twitter speculating that he basically just had the motion capture for these 3 actors and just wanted to show that off, and this isn't going to be a game just in a black void. That's going to be mapped onto characters, but I don't know. Who knows with Kojima, but if it's super...
Well, the other interesting point about it is that supposedly it's using Microsoft's xCloud tech in some way. Like, I don't know how, but that to me says that when the rumors like came out that Kojima was working with Stadia on an exclusive, and obviously Stadia went under, that just was Kojima redirecting to Microsoft to say, hey, let me use your xCloud stuff.
Interesting.
And we can use what we've already worked on and turn it into something for you guys as an exclusive of some sort. But
I don't know what this will be. I don't super like scary games, but I could maybe watch someone play this. I'm so curious to see what they think a new form of media is the main thing, I guess. So
yeah. Well, the previous was a new form because it was a Strand game.
Yeah.
What's this one gonna be?
Great question.
Some other word that does not describe anything.
He has not revealed what OD stands for yet, so that's going to be down the line, I guess. But
yeah,
what do you think about this Jurassic Park survival game, first person?
I'm very curious about this because, like, obviously they were hitting all the like, oh, this is an iconic scene / moment from the movies that you remember. But I kind of wonder if this is going to be like Alien Isolation, the Jurassic Park version.
Interesting.
Where you go in and you sort of do live out some of those big scenes that everybody remembers from the movies.
They revealed that this takes place one day after the original movie.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, I'm curious about this. I'm not like, I do enjoy the Jurassic Park movies, but I'm not like the biggest fan of them. Yeah. But I haven't really played the games. I think the only Jurassic Park game I played was on like Game Boy, like a million.
Yeah, I played a
years ago,
Sega one back in the day.
But if this is just like kind of an Alien Isolation inspired like Jurassic Park game, I think that's like a cool idea that I don't know why they haven't done before.
It's a good question because it seems like it's ripe for it.
Yeah.
We got a release date for Black Myth Wukong. August 20th, 2024. We also got some new gameplay of it. It's still looking great, still looking crazy.
Yeah. It looks very cool. I think I will probably pick that up.
Yeah.
And I think it will be maybe a little bit more Souls-like than I would like it to be, but it looks very cool.
I did not realize that this Metroidvania, Tales of Kinzara Zhao, I didn't realize this was an Assassin's Creed thing, but I thought this was cool.
Is
it? It's like a weird. I guess it is. Maybe this Zhao character is from Assassin's Creed. Maybe he's like the first assassin or something. Or actually,
I didn't know that either.
This is maybe set in the future. I'm unclear what time period this is set in, but yeah, this looked cool to me because it looks just like a cool, vibrant Metroidvania where you have like interesting skills and stuff, and the movement is like very. It almost looks like.
I was gonna say. Yeah, I mean, I love a Metroidvania, and one of the, if you wanted to nitpick Metroidvanias, they're all kind of dark and gloomy, and this one is not that. It's like very bright and vibrant, and so that's kind of a cool thing to me.
Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. This is not related to Assassin's Creed. I'm reading. It's actually just a guy from Assassin's Creed Origins founded his own studio. So there's no relation to Assassin's Creed. I thought that...
okay, I was going to say, I didn't pick up on that from what they showed,
you're right,
but maybe I missed it.
It's just the developer.
They had a developer come out and talk about... I forget what all he said, but he was like dedicating this to like maybe a family member of some sort. So I thought that was kind of cool too. So a cool Metroidvania that I might check out. Next year might be the year of Metroidvanias because we got like that Prince of Persia game coming out in January, and then I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but Silksong.
Who could say if Silksong will eventually release? But it seems likely. I mean, I guess I say that every year, but at some point it's got to be more likely.
I mean, every year it's more likely than the previous year.
As I'm looking at the thumbnail for this Apex Legends thing, it seems like maybe we will get skins, because it looks like there's almost like a Vincent skin for Wraith, and then it looks like Crypto is going to get a Cloud skin, and then that's maybe Horizon has the Tifa skin, but excited for that. Honkai Star Rail we don't really care about. Skull and Bones definitely releasing February 16th.
Supposedly. We'll see.
Which, by the way, I read, and I didn't put this in the show notes. Did you know that they just released, like this week, a Sea of Thieves update where you don't have to play with other people? Like, you and your friends can just be in your own instance where, like, no one's going to come and grief you.
Oh, really?
It's called, like, Safer Seas mode or something like that.
That makes that game instantly more interesting to me.
Isn't it? I might, since it's on Game Pass, I might download it on my Xbox and check it out.
Yeah, I was just going to say, maybe we should check that out, actually. We should download it and try it.
We got a 1-2 punch of interesting things that was a last of something and a first of something.
Yeah.
We got The Last Sentinel, which was entirely a CG trailer that it takes place in maybe a future version of Japan, or just like a futuristic zone, like a future megacity. And it's a very interesting trailer. It's like a lot of little children who are being protected by these like robot nuns, and other robots are trying to get them. Oh
yeah, I was trying to remember what this was.
And then one of the nuns is like, "Don't worry, the demon has arrived." And the demon is like this crazy cool looking character on a motorcycle who just like comes in and kills all these robots in a very cool way. And this looks interesting. I don't know what at all this game could be. I assume I couldn't even tell you if I think it's going to be first person or third person, but the world is interesting. And it's an open world, they say. Fully original AAA futuristic open world game, according to Lightspeed, the LA studio of Tencent. Finally, or I guess not finally, but the second half of the 1-2 punch was, so we had The Last Sentinel and then The First Descendant, which is another cool thing, I think. It's like, I don't know, how would you describe this? There's robots and like future technology, but it's like in this open, almost like Icelandic area. It almost looks like Death Stranding almost, but you're in like crazy robot suits. It seems like it's going to be...
There was a beta for this in September.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember seeing some people play some of it. I didn't check it out, but I don't know. This game looks kind of cool to me, but I'm not sure about it.
The main thing I like about it is like almost Shadow of the Colossus-like, because you're fighting these giant things that you have to like climb all over. There's like a big robot turtle in this trailer that they're all like climbing over. And they have like crazy laser whips to like get up on it and stuff. So I don't know. This looked interesting to me. I also thought that this Den of Wolves looked interesting to me. What did you think about this?
Den of Wolves. Which one was this?
This is another CG trailer with no gameplay, but it's some sort of thing where like a guy isn't interrogating a robot or something.
Yeah, this was like the sci-fi heist game, right?
Yeah, it's like some sort of heist is going on, or like they're trying to heist something. But the art direction of it is very interesting. There's like these really creepy masks, and there's like a guy encased in like glass or something. I don't know. It was weird to see, but it was giving me almost like the Finals vibes, because it was like just very slick looking, you know. And it's team based, it seems like, because there's like 4 people standing. So I don't know if
is it going to be like a sci-fi version of Payday or something like that?
Maybe. I could see that, which is interesting to me. Also, it seems like maybe they're I guess there is some gameplay in this. Maybe it's like Suicide Squad type of thing where they all have like bombs attached to them in some way, because there's like a big flashing device in this guy's open mouth, which is kind of crazy to see. But yeah, that was interesting to me. Exoborn. I don't have no memory of this.
This is an extraction shooter by the devs of The Division. Or
That's
like
right.
some maybe former devs of The Division. I'm not sure.
There's like weather effects and stuff. I was not blown away by this trailer. No pun intended.
Also, the name, like Exoprimal, Exoborn,
Yeah.
like people were making fun of the name.
Now, something I am interested in. Let's talk about this for a little bit. Light No Fire. What was your initial take on this? Because I was super interested.
Yeah, so this is from Hello Games, the No Man's Sky developer, and they had Sean Murray come out, and they laughed at one point because it almost sounded like a repeat of when he was out trying to promo No Man's Sky before it released, and obviously he sort of overpromised, and everybody it was a big thing, but I don't know what to expect as far as what you're doing, but his big pitch for this was. It's a giant open world that's like basically the size of Earth or even bigger than Earth. But instead of like, video game mountains where it takes like 30 seconds to run up the side of it and now suddenly you're at the top of a mountain, this is going to be like a real mountain that's like miles high and takes time to navigate. I don't know if that would be fun, but I mean, it seems cool that you have like basically a giant actual Earth-sized thing to navigate, which their previous game, obviously No Man's Sky, you have an entire universe to explore.
And he said everyone's going to be on the same world. And I don't know what that means, but I would assume it's some evolution of the tech they used for No Man's Sky, where it's somewhat the same universe, where like if you discover something, other people will discover the same thing in the same location. But I don't know if you're going to see like 100,000 people in front of you. They have to have different servers, I would assume. But it's interesting. I love the rabbit race. Also, I thought the rabbit race looked really cool.
Yeah, it seemed like you're playing as like sort of anthropomorphic characters. Which I guess that tracks with like No Man's Sky because you can play as one of like 3 or 4 different alien races. And so in this case, instead of humans, you're like a rabbit person. And yeah, I'm curious if they're sort of using some of the same ideas for No Man's Sky. Like maybe this is a world in need of exploring, and so maybe you're like making new discoveries, and when someone else happens upon it, it'll be like discovered by, and then it's your gamer tag or whatever.
I'm curious to know how much of a one world it actually is. Like, if you're going to be able to build settlements and stuff. I mean, the dream of games is, or I guess one of the dreams is to have a fully other world that is persistent and you just like go to, and it's like every anime that is like, oh, now they're in a VR world where like this guy's a shopkeep and this guy's doing something else. Games have tried to do that, I think, in the past, where like you log in and you can like build your own shop and like be a shopkeep or be an explorer or do all this other stuff. But I don't think anyone's ever gotten it right before, and I would be interested to see if there can be like player created cities in this. Who knows what it's going to be. I mean, we got very few details, even though we got a ton of supposedly gameplay, but I can't wait to see more about this.
Yeah, we have no idea if there's going to be like building mechanics the way there was in No Man's Sky, and we have no idea like what you'll actually be doing. He didn't say MMO, but like probably that's
I don't know.
what it is. But
the finals released during the show, which was cool. I haven't downloaded it, but have you downloaded it?
Yeah, so there were 2 sort of shadow drops. The first was the Final Fantasy 16 DLC Echoes of the Fallen, and then they announced another DLC Rising Tide coming next year, and then they had the finals, which I believe I downloaded maybe remotely at one point. I'm not sure, because they had like a beta at one point. I have not played it, but it's out now, and so that was like a big thing for people. You think you'll play that?
I don't know. It would require us to get another person, because it's like much more tactical. Like we can't just like we do with Apex, just grab a third random person in matchmaking. Because if we did that in this, I feel like you just have to communicate too much.
Is it more maybe are there more than one mode?
I guess I don't know. I think there's only the one like 1v1v1 type of mode. But I'm not sure.
Because I was maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I watched like Shroud play a little bit of this the other day, and he was like flying around like this was just like some sort of team deathmatch almost.
Interesting. Maybe that is the case. If that's the case, then we should definitely check it out.
So I don't know. We need to look into it more. But what did you think of the one more thing to this show?
Was that the Monster Hunter Wilds?
Yeah.
Do you care about this?
I have to say, I don't know. Like, people love Monster Hunter, but it's like doesn't have like the broad appeal that I think maybe they think it does, because this as a one more thing was kind of like there's a certain audience that was like, oh yeah, this is great. But I think most everybody else was like, okay, another Monster Hunter. But it is like the successor to Monster Hunter World, which was like the best-selling Monster Hunter ever, probably, and was like a huge deal when it came out because it was like, you know, on everything other than Nintendo, basically.
Yeah.
And so it was like moving the game to different platforms and making it this like big online thing that was like sort of keying into that audience that loves something like Destiny. And so that's why Monster Hunter World was such a big deal. And so they're doing that again, but it's like the next generation of that. So I do think there is like some degree of hype behind it, but definitely not on the scale that maybe you would want for like a one more thing type of a reveal.
Was Monster Hunter World open world?
No, it was still like you had the hub area. It was very Destiny-like, where you had like the hub area, and
because that's the thing with this one is it is fully open world.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that. So yeah, that's cool.
I don't know. I'm not super into this. Like you said, it doesn't really have a broad appeal. I mean, definitely some people are going to be super psyched for this, and that's great.
Like the people that love it like maybe more than anything else in the world. Like it's that kind of a thing. And like I always read about people getting sucked into it. They'll be like, I thought this was not for me. I tried it and now I can't stop playing it. Like I've gotten so stuck into it, and they're like, yes, one of us, welcome to the, it's that kind of a community. But like, so it while I don't think it has broad appeal, like the people that love it are like huge fans of it. Like they love it more than anything. So it's like one of those kind of weird things where not everybody's going to get excited about this trailer, but the people that do got extremely excited about it.
Oh, the other shadow drop was Baldur's Gate 3 is now available on Xbox.
Oh yeah. So I mean, Game of the Year now on Xbox. Now, if it had been on Game Pass,
that would be
something.
A good get for them. But yeah, overall a pretty good show. Aside from, like you said, they needed to give developers more time to talk. But Keighley did get on Twitter afterwards and was like, by the way, I agree that we messed up a little bit, and that's going to be fixed going forward.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, like, overall, you and I were texting after the show, and we're like, yeah, overall, pretty good. And then, like, I started reading the like reactions on Twitter. I was like, oh yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah.
But hopefully, hopefully they will correct. I think what happened maybe was they're overcorrecting from last year, because there probably was not any sort of limit or like protocol for if people went long, and then Christopher Judge did go like 14 minutes or whatever, 16 minutes. And so this year in their like initial meetings, they were like, hey, we should try to rein people in, but they overcorrected, and someone like really like turned the dial up way too high to be like, okay, everyone gets 30 seconds basically. And it's going to be a tight little ship that we run. And so I think next year is going to be a happy medium between people can't go for 16 minutes, but they also get as much time as they want before we like start shuffling them off.
Yeah, and I think this year's show opened like a big conversation about like, should there be just like a winter E3 or like a winter games fest, just added to the slate so that you can port some of this stuff over to a different show so that you can still have your Game Awards. So you don't, have to rattle off 5 winners in a row with no fanfare and then get back to trailers,
Yeah.
Which I don't think would be like a bad choice, to be honest. If they could like scale it down instead of like this 2-3 hour behemoth, they could just do like a 1 hour tight awards show and maybe sprinkle some trailers in here and there. Like that could be its own show. And then you could have Winter Games Fest, and that would be another fun thing.
I mean, they do 2 AGDQs. There's a regular AGDQ and then an SGDQ. So why not do a summer and a winter? I mean, there's tons of stuff to talk about. You know what else I just realized is, do we have anything from Nintendo in this conference, in this Game Awards?
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
They haven't really been present the last couple of years.
I mean, other than like Zelda and Super Mario Brothers Wonder being nominated and like the developers being there, and obviously Zelda won an award. Other than that, I don't think so.
Yeah.
There was not like a trailer release of some sort that stands out to me as like the big Nintendo presence.
Because famously, a couple of years ago, I mean, I guess it's been a while at this point, but they revealed and shadow dropped the day of those 2 DLCs for Zelda Breath of the Wild, the first DLC, I guess, at the Game Awards. Remember, because that was when we got to see the Master Cycle for the first time, and it was like blowing everyone's mind. And they were like, "It's available today. Go buy it today."
Yeah, and I think they
and
don't
Smash
have plans
also.
to
They would reveal Smash characters there all the time.
Smash. Yeah, I don't think they have plans for DLC for Tears of the Kingdom.
They don't.
Though, right?
They've said they're done.
So that's out, and we're in this like weird like segment with Nintendo where like yes, they have games coming out next year, but we're like anxiously anticipating the next console drop, which we suspect will be next fall. So it's possible this time next year we have a new console from Nintendo. So like they're not going to be like, here's the next big Mario game, because that's probably a launch game for a new console.
Well, I don't know,
so they can't show that.
I don't remember where I read this, but I thought someone was saying like when Mario Wonder came out, someone was like, "What about the next Mario game?" And someone at Nintendo was like, "We don't even know what the next Mario game would look like." So who knows if that's like just them being coy and they actually are working on a 3D Mario, or because they're not going to have a new Zelda, frankly, for a launch console. So if they don't have a new Zelda or a new Mario, what are they going to... I mean, maybe that crazy Donkey Kong game people have always say is in the background?
I was just going to say, like, the rumors are of a Donkey Kong game. And so if there is, like, a 3D Donkey Kong game and, like, Mario Kart 9 or whatever it is to launch the next console, like, I mean, that's going to be a pretty good start for them, I would say.
Those are 2... super good launch titles to have, but we've gone very long. We should wrap it up. But do you have any final thoughts on the Game Awards?
Nope. Fun show. There was some cool shadow drops and some cool trailers that I was into. I think everybody expected Baldur's Gate 3 to win, and it did. So there's not really any surprises from the awards themselves either. But hopefully next year there's more space for awards.
I think there definitely will be. I think Keely's good about hearing feedback, and he'll definitely incorporate that in.
Make adjustments. So, any parting wisdom?
You know, actually, I was looking at this before we started recording. The Verge had an interesting little thing. I should have put it in the show notes. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Where is it? This is an interesting little thing. Somebody made a website you can go to, and it will play a little tone whenever someone updates a Wikipedia article. It's kind of like a weird Zen thing where you can just like watch all these people update Wikipedia in real time, and it will play these little musical tones for you. And it's just a weird little thing that I saw that I thought more people should know about.
Yeah, it sounds like one of those instruments that might be played in like some sort of Zen out session of some sort.
And it visually shows you what articles are being updated, which is very interesting to see. Like, somebody just updated the article on Joshua Tree, and somebody else just updated on Orthodox Peroniism. I don't even know what that is. Blocky clothing.
You're getting different results from me. I see somebody just edited Jeff Scott, baseball writer, and some sort of airport in China.
But yeah, I think if you just Google Wikipedia tone, it'll come up. But that's a little bit of parting wisdom: is go Zen out to this website.
And on that note, go ahead and follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter at Starside Cafe. Leave this podcast a review, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.